It's kind of like drinking like a diet Dr. Pepper or a diet Mountain Dew. Yeah, you can get an understanding of what it's gonna be like, but without that full sugar rush and everything that's in the real original Mountain Dew, it's not the same. So do simulators make you a better pilot? This is actually like a really crucial video, and I kind of wish I had this video before I got started training, and it's like a good question that I get asked a lot. Should I do some training in a simulator before I actually get in the helicopter? Is that gonna save me money? Is that gonna make me a better pilot? Am I going to have a better awareness once I actually get into the helicopter? And it's kind of a good question. So I'll just let you know right now, this video is kind of centered at the people that actually want to learn how to fly a helicopter, and they're asking the question if they should get in the simulator. It's not a video of, are helicopter simulators good, or what is the best helicopter simulator? It's more at the training angle. So to answer the question, it really comes down to three things. The first one is the quality of the simulator. The second thing is what your goal is. And the third thing is your financial situation. By far, the most important thing is the quality of the simulator. There are a ton of simulators out there, and when you say simulator, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Even within that word, there's a bunch of different things. You've got a full motion simulator, which is like the real thing that like airlines use that really makes it seem like you're in the aircraft. And then you have like flight training devices, or you've got computer simulators where you can just like use your computer at home. So when talking about flight training, if you're going to like actually want to learn to fly helicopters and you're going to do it in a simulator, let's just imagine like not a full motion simulator, not something like the big airlines use, but something where you do have a cyclic, you do have a collective, you've got the pedals, and you've got a screen. Not that the thing is gonna move, but you're gonna have a general sense of a helicopter feeling. Is that gonna help you before you actually get into the helicopter? And I can pretty much unequivocally say, no, it's not really gonna help you. The specifics of how the helicopter works and feels and flies, there is no simulation for that. There's no simulation for just a random gust of wind, or being in like a Robinson R22 and your co-pilot shifts a little bit, or as your fuel burns, how that affects the center of gravity of the helicopter. Now you can simulate a lot of these variables, but nothing is really going to feel like the real thing. It's kind of like drinking like a diet Dr. Pepper or a diet Mountain Dew. Yeah, you can get an understanding of what it's gonna be like, but without that full sugar rush and everything that's in the real original Mountain Dew, it's not the same. If you really want to learn how to fly a helicopter, I think you should just get in the helicopter. Now moving on to part two, what your goal is. If you are just wanting to get your private pilot's license, I think you should just get in the helicopter. The FAA minimums are 40 hours of flight time. Most people need more. Most people need like 60 hours. And I think it's just worth spending every hour inside the helicopter and learning it and feeling it and getting better at it. That simulator or flight training device isn't really gonna help you that much during your private. I can't say that there's no benefit, but I think you're gonna get more benefit and you're gonna learn faster and progress faster actually being in the helicopter. However, if you are doing your instrument rating, there is not a better tool than a simulator or a flight training device. The reason why is during instrument training, for anyone that doesn't know, we've got two styles of flying, VFR and IFR. VFR is when you're flying and it's like a nice beautiful day and you're just navigating. IFR is when the weather is really bad, you're in the clouds, you can't see, so you use the instruments to navigate, and you use the instruments to make approaches and takeoffs even. As you're doing that instrument training, what are you looking at? You're looking at the instruments. And what is the flying style? The flying is pretty straight and level, basic turns, standard rate turns, basic approaches. You're not doing any maneuvers. So the best place you could practice things and learn how things work is in the simulator, because it's very small movements. You're not really needing to feel the helicopter. You're just needing to see what your control inputs do to the gauges and simulate what's actually happening. So IFR training, definitely get in the simulator. You can save a ton of money. That is the best place to do it. As well as your CFII rating, Certified Flight Instructor Instrument. it's a great place. You're just doing more instrument stuff. You're just teaching at this point. Now, the other thing that the simulator is good for when it comes to VFR conditions, when you're like flying out about and simulating things, is emergency procedures. Specifically, I like low rotor RPM blade stall. So for anyone that doesn't know, if you're in a power limited situation, like you lose a magneto or something, and your RPMs start to tank, or you have an engine failure and your RPMs start to tank, at some point, if those RPMs keep going lower and lower and lower, at some point you lose all the inertia of the rotor system and your blades stall, and it's a pretty catastrophic incident. Well, what I'll do is I'll have my students be in the simulator and I'll take them up to altitude and I'll let them see what it looks like when the RPMs go below the certain limit and how it's unrecoverable. And it's pretty scary because in the simulator, maybe you're at 3,000 feet, you see your RPMs tanking, and at some point, everything just goes quiet, the engine turns off, and the simulator lets you see what a 3,000 foot fall looks like. And the first time I did it, I was like, oh my God, it shows you what a free fall death feels like, which is very scary. The other thing that I like to practice is an engine restart procedure. So let's say for some reason that your engine, if you're in a turbine, flames out, or if you're in a piston, something happens with the mixture, or for some reason your engine just turns off and you think it can be restarted. So how I practice this is in the simulator, I'll take my students up to altitude like 4,000 or 5,000 feet, really high. And then I'll have them pull the mixture off, which is the fuel and air mixture. I'll have them disconnect it so the engine is starved of fuel, and then they enter the auto rotation, they're established in their glide, we're going down, get the mayday call out, and then I'll have them try to restart the engine. And for anyone that flies Robinsons, that procedure is put the mixture full in, throttle, close, and then slightly crack it, and then actuate the starter key with your left hand. A brilliant procedure that we only read about and we never get to practice in real life, because you would never actually pull that mixture off. That's suicidal. So the simulator is really good for emergency procedures and instrument training, but just learning how to fly the helicopter, not really. Oh, the other thing that I really like the simulator for is practicing one of the biggest killers of helicopter pilots, which is VFR, visual flight rules, when you're flying in good conditions, flying into instrument meteorological conditions, or flying into the clouds. This transition from visual to clouds, that's where pilots die. They lose spatial awareness, they lose orientation of the aircraft because we rely so much on our eyes. As soon as we can't see, all of our senses get messed up and you can spiral and crash very quickly. However, the more experience you get, if you're just looking at a screen and everything is good and then all of a sudden you fly into clouds, the better you can get at that transition from VFR into instrument conditions, the better likelihood that you have of actually surviving it and positively switching over to those instruments if it actually were to happen. So I love practicing VFR into IMC. I love practicing low rotor RPM blade stall. I love practicing different procedures like engine restart procedures. And then the third thing I'd say, the third point about this is your financial situation. If you are wanting to fly helicopters and you think it might be something for you, save up the money and go do an introductory flight. Save up whatever it is, $300, $400, $500 at your local flight school, call them up, and maybe you can just do like a half hour. I know that my school that I work at, it's $400 for the full hour, $200 for the half hour. Save up that money and go get in the helicopter. Get your hands on the controls. Really experience it. I wouldn't recommend saving up whatever, $500, $1,000, $2,000 for a simulator and just practicing on that before you actually get in the helicopter. Get in the helicopter, see if you like it, and then if you like it, if you don't have that money and you're not going to have it for a while, sure, get a simulator. I think of it more at that point as kind of a toy and entertainment and fun. It's not really a training device. But if you don't have the finances to like really figure out flight school, that it's an option. But I think your time is much better spent researching ways to pay for flight school, or working more, figuring out a real tangible solution to the problem of the finances versus sitting and, like I said, kind of playing a game. And I'm not bashing it. If you just want to fly a helicopter simulator and have a helicopter simulator and that's your goal, that is badass. That's fun. I totally support it. But if you're trying to do this in the event of actually learning to fly helicopters, focus on figuring out how you're going to finance flight school and put your energy into making real progress towards that. But if you stuck around this long, leave a banana emoji in the comments below so I can see that you made it this far, and let me know if you want me to play a flight simulator game. I know they have all these helicopter simulators. If you want me to play that, leave a comment down below and let me know. I will download it and I will play it. That might be really fun. And if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. I would really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and look forward to me playing that helicopter flight sim. I think that might be a fun thing to do. Take care.